Hey everybody, what is up? I wanted to say happy World Snake Day first of all. I was going to do a video about some really cool things about snakes. I'm going to save it for another day because today, as I promised, we are going to put together an extra bin for our little buggy friends. Like I said in my last video, we got a whole bunch of rubber duckies and I wanted to set some aside using a different method for setting up a bin than what I did on their main bin. So this is actually closer to how I normally would do it with products I've used before, I trust. None of the products that I mentioned in this video are going to be sponsors, or are sponsors. I wish they'd be sponsors. Josh's Frogs, hit me up. But we're just going to kind of go through everything real quick, see what I use, and I'm probably forgetting a few things, but that's okay. In fact, one I'll have to grab, it's right behind me. I don't know why I've attracted all the animals. They're all here. But let's get started. So in my bin, well actually outside my bin, the first thing I'm going to do is I brought some waters. I brought both spring water and distilled water. We're only going to be using one, but I'll explain why I have both of them in just a moment. Also in here we have, now this is actually decaying wood that I have personally found. That one's, yeah, there we go. This is a better piece. This is decaying wood from a tree that's been down for well over a year. This wood's soft, it falls apart. Right now I'm treating it for any potential parasites, other bugs it might have by freezing it for a week. You can save a lot of money by going out and finding soft wood, but you want to be careful to make sure, Russian terrorist. You want to make sure that this wood has not been treated with pesticides. Now, I don't know if it has or has not. This was off to the side of a farm. Just leave it. It was off to the side of a farm. So I actually have a separate bin I keep when I try all the, my new products to make sure they're safe for the rest of them. It's a little bin with powder hardy in them because they breed very quickly. So they'll be getting this before I put them in with the rubber duckies because I do not want to risk killing all my rubber duckies. But decaying wood, you can buy it, you can find your own and treat it. And now there's a lot of debate online about whether or not you should boil it versus you should freeze it or you should cook it. Some people seem to think that you lose nutritional value when you heat treat it. So I'm going to say yes, that is true in some cases because, as you know, if we boil our vegetables in water, the nutrients leach out into the water and we don't get that. So my thought process and opinion is the same thing's going to be true with wood. You're going to lose some of that nutritional value because you're not giving that water to your bugs. It's usually going to go outside or down the drain. And as far as heat treating, I don't think you lose as much nutritional value. It might break down a little bit, but you keep most of the nutrition when you freeze things. So I have chosen to freeze it. You want to freeze your decaying wood for at least 1 week, preferably 2, before you give it to your animals. Next up, we have a nice big piece of corkboard. This is going to act as both a source of nutrition as it starts to break down, and it's a place for them to hide, to hang out, to mingle, to breed. So always nice to have one of these. They can be a little bit pricey. I actually bought a big one that was meant for the big bin of rubber duckies. I broke it, saved a piece, not really intending at first to make this other bin, but then I realized I have a really big piece and it works out pretty nice. Can be costly. Usually when you buy them at pet shows, it's by weight. So you can have lighter cork board, you can have, I shouldn't say cork board, but cork wood. You can have denser, heavier ones. You can find a very big piece that's lighter compared to, you know, relatively other sized ones. So be smart on what you're doing. You can save money that way. Next up, we have food products. Snake sheds are great foods. A lot of the isopods are very protein driven. You can also use fish flakes. You don't want these to be the everyday food source for them, but they are a good substitute. I also have in here somewhere, I don't know where I stuck it. Oh, they're over here. I love to feed my isopods bee pollen. You can buy them from some isopod vendors, but this is basically a superfood food for the isopods, very nutritious, and it's absolutely adorable when your little isopods pick them up and they carry them around like a little ball in their mouth. I love watching them do that. It's so much fun. It's just adorable. So I have a couple big containers of this, but bee pollen, one of my favorite foods to give them. Another food option is going to be Repashi's. They have a couple different products. I have Bug Burger. There's another one where you can make a gel that they can eat. They actually make, and I don't think I have any here, but they make these little cups that are fruit gels. They're not great nutritionally. They make a good treat, but they also have a good source of fluids for them, moisture. You don't want that to be their sole source. It's not good for them. But manufactured products, not bad. I prefer going with more natural products. What I didn't bring out, you can also do organic foods. Lettuces, carrots, you'll see often, especially if you're purchasing them. The vendors will put carrots in there. My isopods love strawberries. You don't want to give it to them all the time. And I know they love strawberries because I have a garden with strawberries, and the ones outside like to eat them. Don't want to give it to them all the time. But the most important thing is that you are giving organic foods. If you do not give organic, you're giving your isopods pesticides, and you're very likely to walk into a dead bin because they've eaten the pesticides. A lot of talk is also going around now about a, let's say substance, but I believe it's a leaf called kuzu, K-U-Z-U. You can give it to them, but it has to be dry, decaying. Otherwise, it is toxic. It is deadly for them if it is still fresh. So kuzu, good. And then lastly, one thing I recently planted for other bugs that we carry that I believe should be fine are mulberry leaves. Probably the mulberry fruit as well. I know we give them to silkworms, and I actually planted the tree with that in mind specifically. So food ideas, there's a lot of options that you can do, but the actual primary source of food for your isopods, oh, that's not it, should be leaves. Decaying matter is the best food source. It's what they get in nature. So we have oak leaves here. I've pre-ordered or pre-bought them. Josh's Frogs, like I said. I love their products. Not a sponsor. Cork, like I said, decaying cork. I have some here. It's little chunks, but it's also fine powder. We'll pour some of that in there, and it's easier for them to eat. So we have cork. We have another product. You can make this at home. I'm actually thinking about trying to make this, but this is flake soil. And this is kind of the same idea as that cork powder, but it's broken down trees into a smaller form. And it appears that this product is actually I want to say a super producer, but it helps with production of your isopods. They'll reproduce faster, or it seems to be when you start using flake soil. So I have some flake soil. Other items in here we have, these are sources of moisture. We have sphagnum moss, and we have regular moss. This is kind of a preserved moss. You can, when you re-wet it, rehydrate it, this actually comes back to life. So this is live moss, but in a dormant form. The isopods will hide under the bottom. They use it as like a moisture hide, I guess you could say, and they'll actually eat it as well. So it's a multi-purpose, always good to have. And with rubber duckies, you definitely want to have a lot. Additional products, we have more botanicals. Very popular one that a lot of people use are lotus pods. Like I said before, these are like little isopod hotels. They'll get inside, they'll hide, they'll hang out, they'll go, hey, you want to make babies? Great place. Hotels are good for that. But we put it face down on the soil because they prefer to climb up inside and hide in it. So we've got a couple of those. We've got some acorn caps. You can use magnolia pods, sweet gum, those little star pods that are spiky and annoying and they get everywhere when you have those little trees. But there are different botanicals that you can use And sometimes you can even get them yourselves, and in that case you want to treat them similarly to how you're doing decay wood. Put them in the freezer for a couple weeks. On my acorn pods and other ones that I picked up, I will boil them in hot water for about 20 minutes, and then I'll bake them for at least 10 minutes until they're dry. So there is that. And last but not least, and probably the most important part, is going to be your substrate. Ooh, I missed something in here. Oh, it's more leaves. Lots of leaves. So substrates. I have a couple different ones. I do use a couple different ones. I did not order enough of the two my preferred substrates. I got the wrong size bags. So we'll go over those in a minute. So I'm going to actually be supplementing with Rectisoil. Again, not a sponsor. But this is kind of a combination. It's got humus, it's got peat moss, it's got some sand in there, it's got some carbon. Carbon's just breaking down wood. Breaking down wood. But I'm going to kind of use this as a base to supplement for me not having enough of my primary sources. I also will use some forest floor. That's kind of a top layer. It's got more wood sources to break down and create a new source of food for them. I use that on the top. And one last thing I did include in here is something to monitor humidity. Now, not all isopods need a lot of humidity, but rubber duckies do. So you want to make sure you're on top of your humidity. Otherwise, again, if it gets too dry, you're going to find that you have a whole bunch of dead isopods in a really bad day. So something to monitor humidity. I use Govee. It connects to my phone. It's a Bluetooth. I can check it at work. Works great. I actually have 2 in the incubator with the eggs right now. But let's get started. We're gonna go ahead and set up this bin. I usually use clear bins. Get that out of my face. I usually use clear bins because I like to see what my isopods are up to, check the humidity on the walls. Because rubber duckies come from caves, I decided to use a gray bin to make it darker in there. My thought process is if we're simulating their environment more, or better, then they maybe will breed better. So I'm gonna put down a good layer of this Rectisoil. I'm gonna try to not knock everything over. But we're gonna make this as our base layer. Now they need to have a good amount of soil on the bottom because they like to burrow. So recommended about 4 inches or so, 3 minimum, 4 to 6. Preferably. This is a smaller bin, at least overall size, and a little bit shallower than my other bin. But I'm gonna go ahead and spread that out. The next one I'm going to use is going to be my ABG. So my ABG is a pre-made mix. It's got leaf litter, it's got moss, it's got, I'm reading the back of it. No, it doesn't have that. What does it have? Well, it should have sphagnum. It should have soil in there. There we go. I found it. Nope, it says use with. Sphagnum moss, soil. Sphagnum moss helps to hold in humidity. So that's going to be very important. We want to make sure we have some of that. I'm going to go ahead and put this down. We'll actually see what's in there. In this bag, usually when I buy them, they come in layers pre-made. This one might be mixed a little bit better, but some of the ones I use for my enclosures will have layers. Will have carbon on the bottom, it'll have a layer of sphagnum, it'll have a layer of soil. So if you're doing a whole bunch of them, you can kind of just open them up and just empty them in that way, so you already have those layers saved. I'm mixing them in, so we're just gonna pour it in. So yes, I see lots of sphagnum. You can see it right here on the top. You can see carbon, and inside here there's soil. But I'm just gonna kind of mix it around, get a good layer. That looks nice. All right, next one we are going to do is going to be my isopod mix. My isopod mix is gonna have more soil, it's gonna have more sphagnum, but it's gonna have leaf litter, it's gonna have bark in here. So this is food sources. I want this up closer to the top so it's getting more moisture. It's going to decay and become food better for our little bug friends. So we're gonna put it in here. This looks like it's mostly different phases of breaking down wood. We are gonna spread that out. So I kind of mix them up a little bit right on the top as well between the two layers to get some of that soil in. So in this case, because I have so much wood, I don't really need to put this over here. I don't need to use my forest floor, but I like using it. I like having the little chunks in there as another little layer, but I'm not going to use as much because we already have basically this. I am looking on the side. I think we have about 3 inches. So I'm going on to my next layer. My next layer, what I actually do is I grab my cork in the little cork chunks and the cork powder, and I'm going to spread it around in the bin as well. So we're going to spread it and get some more of that powder because that's some easy food for the isopods. I like that. That looks pretty good. So that one is done. I'm going to put it off to the side. The next layer that I do is, not that, where did it go? Is my flake soil. Again, you can find flake soil. It's a lot harder to find. I found it on Amazon. Where else you can find it, it's just really hard to say. But you can find instructions how to make your own, and it does take, it's a process. It takes time to do it. So don't expect to just go out and make it and have it ready the next day. You're looking at a couple weeks. So we're gonna spread that flake soil around. That looks pretty good. Now, while I'm on this layer right here, I wanna add my water because we do need all that humidity. Depending on what kind of isopod you have, sometimes you want less humidity, sometimes you want more, and sometimes you want a gradient. So you want a wet side and a dry side. These guys, excuse me, they prefer more humidity. I'm gonna use my distilled water for this. The other options you can use when adding humidity is going to be spring water or runoff water. Sorry, reverse osmosis water, RO water, not runoff. Though I'm sure you can use probably rain water. But we're gonna add a whole bunch of humidity. That's looking pretty good right there. Like I said, I brought spring water with me. You don't want to use tap water or drinking water because they have chlorine in it. Chlorine's not good for really anybody, but we do use it to treat our water, but it's definitely not good for our little pets. So spring, distilled, reverse osmosis. Good. All right, so the next layer we're gonna put down is a very generous layer of leaf litter. Again, I'm using oak leaves that I've purchased. You can collect leaves. Some leaves are too thick for some isopods to eat, so keep that in mind. I actually have cocoa leaves as well in my garage. And so we're gonna put down a nice hefty layer of leaf litter because this is going to be their primary source of food as well. Let's see. All right, that bag is done. I have another bag, but I think we're gonna be good for now. Actually, why don't we just go for it all? Do it right the first time, you don't have to do it again. Big, thick layer. Your isopods are gonna be hiding in here. And again, like with any botanicals, you can collect oak leaves from your home. Just make sure you treat them, otherwise you might end up with some unwanted guests. All right, so that is down. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to plan around where I'm going to put my cork. My cork is going to go in here. This is going to be my dry area. If the isopods want something that's a little bit drier, that they're not just standing in water, this is where I want them to be. So I'm going to actually put some calcium, which is something I did not put in the box that I meant, but I have here cuttlefish. Crushed cuttlefish is calcium. They need this calcium in order to shed properly. They will start misshedding, and when you start misshedding, they actually can easily die when that happens, especially if they can't shed properly. So I'm putting down my cuttlefish chunks. You can also use egg shells, and you can use oyster shells. You can also use limestone. So I actually have some limestone that's on its way. It hasn't made it here yet, but I'm going to include it because these guys are found in limestone caves. So I want chunks of limestone here. You can even get crushed limestone and mix it in the soil. I did not do that just because I'm kind of picky. I want to find something that says it's organic limestone. I don't know if it's been treated, but I certainly don't want to risk these guys. So I'm just going with what I know does work and is safe. I'm also going to put down some bee pollen. I'm going to give them some food. Now keep in mind that your food in here is going to mold. Bee pollen will definitely mold, but you want to try to limit that mold from forming. So we are going to use springtails. Now this one I've actually already used before. I have to get one from the front, but springtails are your other cleanup crew that do eat mold. There's not very many in here. I need to feed these guys, but you'll be pouring a whole bunch in here just to help keep the bin clean. I might even use ones that I can't see. I have this should have a whole bunch in them. I don't know if you can see it because the lighting's not great, but this one is iridescent. This one definitely requires lighting to see. Very hard to see him right now. Actually, I don't even see him moving. I might put those in there. And I might put these. If you can kind of see the darker, little darker areas, these are, what is it? Blue Perdura isopods. Very hard to see. You won't know that they're in there. So you have options if you want to be creative. For these guys, it doesn't matter so much, but for things like dart frogs, the tropical whites, tropical pinks, yellow albinos, dart frogs will see them, dart frogs will eat them. But this is not a dart frog bin, so I can use whatever I want, just as long as they are tropical. So we got that. I think I'll even put in a little bug burger here. You can make a gel out of this, or you can just kind of shake it on in. So I'm probably gonna need a lot of isopods. I'm not gonna use my fish food, and I might put a little piece of snake shed in here. You can also use, different lizard sheds, but because I have snakes, we're gonna go with snake sheds. So that's in there. These are all sources of food. Some species of isopods need a lot of protein, so a lot of sheds, fish food. Dairy cows are notorious for being extremely protein driven. If you put them in with dart frogs, they will chew on your dart frogs. So make sure you're feeding them. I always check to see what have we eaten, what have we not eaten. And right now I don't know if they're gonna eat these or not, the snake shed or not, but it's there if they want them. I'm gonna put a couple acorn caps in here. They can be used as hides. They can be used kind of as a water dish for them. They don't need the water so much. You're gonna get it off of the leaves. But I like to have those kind of options, and they don't break down, and it's a food source. Next up, I'm gonna add my sphagnum moss. Oh, nope, sorry, this is my frog moss. So real moss. I'm gonna get a couple little spaces here. Actually, I'll put it right there. Give that one a space. We want several areas for them to hide. I'm actually gonna end up having to buy more. We'll put this one right here. This will be my moss end. And look, I have all this good goods in there. I'm gonna put that in there too. Stuff for them to eat, hide in, whatever they want. And we're also gonna do a side or an area with just regular sphagnum. I had this left over from a Rose's lay bin. It's still moist, but we want them to have an area that they can, if they need more moisture, we can go chill out in there. So right now, oh, we're also missing our lotus pods. So I'm gonna put them in here, I said face down. You wanna make sure, actually I'm gonna turn the caps because these are pretty deep, that if the smaller ones fall in, they can drown. They might not be able to climb out. So we wanna be mindful of that. But there we go, got my lotus pods in there. I'm gonna go ahead and rehydrate our moss by pouring more water in it, and that's giving more water to the rest of the enclosure. The rest of the bin. And the last thing I'm going to do is, I just hit myself in the face with, I have no idea what, but I'm gonna go ahead and spray down the whole thing. Now I put the food underneath the cork because if it's on top of the cork, it gets moisture from when you're spraying, and the food will mold just even more quicker, break down. So we just kind of want to preserve that food for them. But we're gonna give a good spray down to the top, get everything wet. We got a lot to get wet in here. And then again, the last thing we're gonna do when we're done is add our humidity monitor. So these guys right here, rubber duckies, they need 75 to 90% humidity. So I'm gonna be here for a while, spraying this, getting everything moist, driving up that humidity. And then we're gonna add our rubber duckies here in just a moment. But this is pretty much it. I've got a lid, the lid's gonna stay on it. If they required, some species like ember bees actually require quite a lot of ventilation. So you might be putting ventilations, drilling big holes in there, putting them in the side. I am not doing that because these guys, these rubber duckies, they're low to moderate ventilation. It's more important to keep that moisture up, the humidity up. So we are not gonna be drilling holes into the side of this for big vents, but I might put a couple little holes in the lid, which is now down here. I'll put a couple little holes in here just to keep ventilation. This lid actually doesn't fit the greatest, and it kind of lifts up on the sides. So I think we're probably gonna get our ventilation that way. Thankfully, this isn't a species that climbs. Ember bees love to climb. I knew that going into it, so I actually put the holes into their enclosure and covered it with a very fine mesh so they couldn't get out. This one I don't need to worry about so much. These guys are gonna go underground. They're gonna hide under the moss. Got some more. And they're just gonna be happy and hidden. I'm not gonna see them too much, and that's okay. But there you have it. Biggest thing, most important thing whenever you pick up any animal is just to make sure you do your research, know what you need, know what you're getting into. And then, you know, make sure you have everything. And again, you want everything to be organic, or, you know, at least safe, made specifically for animals. You don't have to buy the pre-made mixes like I do. You can go to your local Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever, and you can get organic mushroom compost. You can get organic peat moss. If you can find it, you can get organic topsoil. That's a lot harder to find. Some people have substituted topsoil with potting soil because it's kind of similar. I have a couple bins that have topsoil instead, and they seem to be doing okay. But you always have options. You can go the fancy, expensive route by getting your pre-mades, or you can forage it and source it to save money. That's all up to you. Just make sure you do your research and always test your products if you don't know. I'm gonna spray the cat. Test your products if you don't know if they're safe for your animals. But that's it. Thank you for watching, and remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and be kind to your animals. Bye.